Sometimes you think the weather is going to calm down, but we've got a major dome and then a major shift. And look at what's coming in behind the heat wave. We've got a huge cool down as the polar vortex might actually get unleashed for the first time this fall. I've got all the details you need to know in this video. Alright, thank you so much for joining me here. Here's a look at the high pressure system that I've been talking about for days, developing over portions of the upper Midwest, and the temperature anomalies that are going to come with it are going to run 20 to 30 degrees above normal, especially into portions of the upper Midwest. This is a very feisty system, and let's go ahead and run through the weekend temperature timing, and let's just jump right on into that. Temperatures warming on up into the 90s from the Gulf Coast here in the Arklatex region all the way on up into portions of southern Minnesota as well as far southeastern portions of South Dakota forest. This is going to be a very hot weekend across this region, especially for this time of the year. Really, if you're west of the Mississippi, that's going to be how this starts out, and then this is going to shift east as we go towards the start to the middle portion of next week. Not much relief at nighttime either. We're going to see these temperatures only get on down to around 70 across much of this area during the night with some of the higher humidity values as well. And then look at this as we go into your Sunday afternoon. We're going to see these temperatures go even further north towards the Canadian border with some mid-90s into portions of the Twin Cities region. We could see this into portions of, say, Pierre, South Dakota. This is going to be some significant heat that's going to move on in. And then in terms of your temperatures as we go through the week next week, here we go starting on Monday. It's going to be a little bit more tames further north on Monday, but nonetheless some 90s moving into portions of especially the Arklatex region. Then we get these 80s to shift eastward into the south and east as well as the Ohio Valley and Tennessee Valley as we go in towards your Tuesday. This is going to be some mid-80s and upper 80s as well, especially west of the Appalachian Mountains. Similar deal on Wednesday with some 85-degree readings trying to get up close towards Detroit. A little bit more tame back towards Texas, but still near 90 in that area. So let's go ahead and run through that temperature anomaly timing. How far above average are these temperatures? Running about 20 to 30 degrees above average, as I mentioned at the start of the video as we go towards your Sunday. This is going to be pretty much the hottest day, especially across portions of Nebraska, heading up into the Dakotas and Minnesota. So in a place like, International Falls, this could be near 90 degrees as we go into our Monday as well. This is just some crazy heat. It's not normal to see 90 in International Falls most of the year, and then we're getting it here as fall is trying to turn towards winter down the line. Yeah, we're looking at this right now. Temperatures about 25 degrees above average, still ahead of a new front that's going to develop as we go towards our Tuesday. I'll be talking about that in a little bit and how that could unleash the polar vortex. Notice though this heat dome begins shifting east, so here we go towards our Wednesday afternoon. We've got these 10 to 15 degree departures above average here heading into the Ohio Valley, down to the Mississippi River Valley as well, and then heading on off towards the north and eastern part of the country as well. Things are going to be getting well above average there, so a place like Buffalo, New York, heading on up into Vermont, New Hampshire, it's going to be hot. And then notice things get closer to normal here across the central part of the country with the heat really breaking away and off towards the east coast down the line. So let's time out the front and the energy that's going to push this heat away and how it could produce some severe weather. First of all, looking at the near term through this weekend, here we go into your Saturday morning. We've got a low pressure system. It's been producing flooding across the northeast with some very significant urban flooding here into portions of the New York City today as I'm filming this on your Friday. And this is really looking to linger one more day into our Saturday through there into the New England and the Northeast. But overall, this is on the fringes of the high-pressure system building over central parts of the country. Here we go towards your Sunday. This is your Sunday morning, heading in towards your Sunday afternoon. Notice how we just completely clear out here over the north-central part of the country. Again, that's because of the high-pressure system. Rain knocking on the door from the west, though, as well as some very high-elevation snowfall there into the Mountain West. And then we've still got that stationary boundary. Yes, it's still for you, Florida, as we go into your, your Sunday, into your Monday, especially southern and eastern Florida. That's where this is going to be really lingering around. And then you can really start to make out the low-pressure system moving out of the Four Corners region. It's going to be heading on up into the plains. And this is what's going to bring our severe weather potential, I think, as we go in towards the midweek time frame. The Storm Prediction Center really saying that there's not enough certainty in terms of the amount of instability we're going to have in terms of what's really going to be available for this to develop. But certainly a pretty feisty-looking system beginning to, do that classic plain setup where we see this go all the way up to the Canadian border and all the way back down to the Mexican border. Again, this is not going to be a significant severe weather weather outbreak. That is definitely set in stone, but we're probably going to have at least 1 or 2 days of a level 2, maybe level 3 risk for severe weather out of this system, especially if the dynamics can get together in many levels of the atmosphere. But you can definitely tell if this turns into a low pressure system. This is as we're talking about your Tuesday into your Wednesday time frame here, and it's going to begin to surge on off towards the east and get a new wave of energy with it. And this is going to turn this into a powerful cold front that's going to be passing the Mississippi River October 5th and eventually heading towards the east coast, clearing the northeast by the time we go towards your October 9th. So this is by the time we're talking about Monday, October 9th, and much cooler air will spill in behind it. So let's break down why that's going to happen and why at least a part of a polar vortex or the Arctic blast here type of situation is going to get going. This is an Arctic blast for this time of the year, not in terms of, talking about winter-like levels. So here we go in towards your October 2nd. This is as we go towards your your Monday. We're going to see this, this upper level energy diving on down with cooler air in the mountain west. That's the only location where the polar jet stream is low enough to get the cool air. The high pressure system is going to be forming ridging over the Great Lakes and eastern part of the country by this time. By the time we hit your October 3rd, this is going to begin shifting east. A cold front is going to develop on the right side, of course, of that cooler air, because that's where we have that, where the warm meets the cold. Notice how that piece of energy begins moving east, but look at that yellowish pink color diving on down out of Canada. This is going to be the reinforcement of that cold front that's really going to usher in the extra cool air. When you get a cold front behind a huge heat dome like this, you're often just going to get things back down to average. We're going to get below average just because there's that extra energy that's going to dive on down, and it's really going to make things nice from really for the eastern half of the country. The west has been cooler than average over the course of the last couple of weeks. That's going to change. Now you can see how that area clears out, and that's going to allow for a dome to develop there, bringing heat to portions of especially the Pacific Northwest. Again, at least for this time of the year, it's going to be unseasonable temperature-wise. So again, the major anomaly shift, about 10 degrees above average on the west coast. I'm not saying this is a major cool down, but certainly 10 to 20 degrees below average, especially close to 10 degrees below average, surging on down into the eastern two-thirds of the country. Your 8 to 14-day temperature outlook from the Climate Prediction Center agreeing right along this path towards the end of next week. We're going to see that cooler air move on in, and it's going to be lingering around over the course of the next week or two, especially as you go into the Great Lakes region and towards the east coast. And then what that's going to do is, of course, when you get a front, you get the rain out ahead of it. Some of these areas along the east coast need a little rain, of course, except not in the northeast. The 8 to 14-day precip outlook is showing that behind this front, it's going to dry out, so hopefully you'll get the rain you need, if you need it, in portions of the central and eastern part of the country out of this system. First freezes are definitely a possibility as this system pushes through. This is a look at Pivotal Weather's map here with the European model as we go towards your Saturday. This is talking about October 7th, and temperatures in the 20s and 30s here across portions of the north-central tier of the United States. I would monitor this and make sure that you don't have anything sensitive to the freeze, and definitely get that winter coat out. Mid-range freeze, of course, being the likelihood in the Dakotas as I see it right now, with places like Williston, Minot, Dickinson, Bismarck all looking out at some low 30s, maybe even some 20s down the line. Of course, this is the feisty storm that's going to develop, and it's going to be there regardless. So definitely monitor your forecast, because things are subject to change. I did not show any severe weather potential graphics in this video because this system is 100% going to change, and we do not have all the information we need to make an accurate prediction on severe weather right now. So monitor this in the plains towards the east coast over the next few days, because of course you don't get relief without some storms. So, by the way, speaking of storms, I'm not concerned about these tropical storms, Philippe or Rena, right now out in the Atlantic. There was a worry that they were going to do the Fujiwara effect because they were going to come close enough to each other and spin around each other. Good news, that's not going to happen. Rena's going to go north of Philippe, and Philippe is going to tail behind both of them, looking to be fish storms, so that's great news there. Neither one looking to be a hurricane right now. By the way, I would love it if you would subscribe to the channel, so go ahead and like, subscribe, comment, all those things.